So it's the end of yet another week, and here on this channel that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you the viewers to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week the two best teams in each conference officially began their series to determine who will go to the NBA Finals, and from there it has brought us quite a few big-time performances and important developments. Plus, the NBA Draft Lottery went down to determine the drafting order, so of course we have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. PrizePicks is the perfect service for all of us basketball fans here because when you're involved, it makes watching games every night so much more fun and engaging. Basically, it's an application that provides you with lines on all kinds of individual player props, such as points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made amongst others, and you simply have to choose whether you believe they will record over the set amount in the line or under the set amount in the line. Make your selections, wager however much you want to, and if your picks hit, you can win some big money. For some picks that I'm looking at making for today's slate of games, I'm thinking of going with Steph Curry to grab over 5.5 rebounds, Luka Doncic to dish out over 7.5 assists, and Spencer Dinwiddie to make over 1.5 threes. If this sounds at all intriguing to you, then go use the link down in the description of the video to sign up today and use promo code REFERENCE to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Andrew, and he says that the Dallas Mavericks this year are basically this year's version of what the Atlanta Hawks did last year in the playoffs, with countless similarities between the teams. I'll come clean and admit that I didn't think the Mavericks were going to go on a run like this before the postseason started, so watching Luka Doncic and the rest of that squad compete as hard as they have this year has been a very pleasant surprise. First, they took down the Utah Jazz, who going into the offseason are in a bit of turmoil, but then they took down the dominant 1-seed Phoenix Suns, and that's what cemented them as legitimate contenders regardless of where they're at now in their current series. Obviously, as the take at hand pointed out, there are a ton of similarities between them and the Hawks last year, both good and bad. For starters, they both eliminated the 1 seed in the second round unexpectedly. Barring a massive comeback, the Mavs seem like they're about to go down in the conference finals, just like the Hawks did. And they're both teams run by a high-usage, ball-handling star player who doesn't really have a star sidekick to help things out despite the supporting cast being objectively strong. The Hawks role players all stepped up last year, just like the role players on the Mavs right now are playing unbelievably, but ultimately star talent tends to win on the biggest stage, and one guy can only do so much. The Hawks, for the most part, ran it back with the same squad they made their run with last year this season, and they fell off hard this year. I don't think that's gonna happen to the Mavericks next year if they do the same thing, but I do agree with the sentiment that the Mavericks can become a bit predictable because of how heavily Luka Doncic is featured, and if they want to be true contenders capable of going all the way, he does need a star sidekick to help in that regard, just like pretty much every champion in recent memory has had for their star player. The next take we'll be discussing comes to us from Matu, and he says that Jayson Tatum is becoming very overrated at the moment. Jayson Tatum has been someone people have been hyping up as a future superstar ever since he was 19 years old, and they have been doing so for good reason. As a rookie, he emerged as someone who helped the Celtics reach the conference finals and performed tremendously as a youngster on the big stage, and from there a legend was born. Tatum's trajectory wasn't always a straight line to the top from there though, as the coming years were filled with a few bumps and inconsistencies along with the moments of brilliance. But every time he would have a big game, you could just see the oozing potential in his game to reach the top. It's the playoffs now, and specifically, we're watching the conference finals go down that Tatum's Celtics are participating in. So obviously every game comes with an abundance of prisoner of the moment type takes, and it has been no different regarding Tatum. Keep in mind that one of the biggest reasons why the Celtics took so long to get going this season was because in the first half of the year, Tatum was shooting just 41% from the field and 32% from 3, settling for ill-advised shots regularly. They took off because their defense finally started to lock down, but also because Tatum also turned things around with his shooting. And that kind of inconsistency resulted in this being a down year for him compared to last year. Now Tatum has begun to get shouts of being a top 5 player in the league by many fans of the game and analysts alike with big platforms because he had a 46-point game against the Bucks in a pivotal Game 6 to outduel Giannis Antetokounmpo, but now he's coming off of a 10-point performance in a loss to the Miami Heat yesterday, and these inconsistencies are once again shining through. If you are someone that thinks Tatum is already a top 5 player in the league, then yes, you probably are overrating him as a player. He is comfortably a fringe top 10 player in the league right now, but cannot go higher because even though he has proven to be someone capable of making tough shots, he relies way too heavily on them in his game for now. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Doom, and he says that this year's draft is going to be one of the worst in history. Every year around draft season, we get plenty of takes thrown out about the players set to be drafted, and every year, there seems to be a group of people that just are not a fan of the incoming talent at all. I literally remember this same kind of thing being said about last year's draft class, and now looking at the rookies this year, there are countless players that look to have very bright futures in the league just 1 year later. Sure, there definitely are flaws with each of the top prospects this year, and there may not be a set-in-stone superstar sitting at the top waiting to be drafted, but this year's draft is loaded with talent that should give plenty of teams a nice boost next season. Jabari Smith is a 6'10" forward with elite shot-making skills from anywhere on the floor, while also giving you tremendously versatile defense. Paolo Banchero has the strength to outmuscle smaller forwards, and the footwork and quickness to beat bigger defenders off the dribble. Chet Holmgren is an unbelievable shot blocker that can also shoot 40% from 3. I'm not saying they're all going to dominate the league, and they each have their own weaknesses, but I completely disagree that this year's draft class is weak at all, with so much talent available. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.